We haven't really talked much about federal programs or nutrition benefits or these things that you're mentioning that have evolved and changed. We haven't really truly dug in and addressed that here in the podcast. I know we speak about it in media. We have an advocate page on our website, but you know, it can be so controversial for people. I mean, there's the reality that people need food. The things like the USDA food and the SNAP benefits and the WIC benefits become very controversial. But for us, it's not political. It's not a
No.
political statement. It is just sharing a fact about a change in resources or a change in the landscape of hunger.
Yeah, we say it a lot internally, but I wish more people talked about it externally, that food is nonpartisan. It's
Yeah.
not bipartisan, it's nonpartisan,
Yes.
right? I mean,
Yes.
food is just a right.
Hmm.
And we also talk a lot about that when one social program is cut, that people turn to the charitable food network. So if their SNAP benefits or Medicare or Medicaid is cut back, they may turn to Feeding South Dakota. And we need to be able to be here as a safety net. And in
Right.
order to do that, we need more food and more resources to do that.
Hey everyone, thanks for tuning in today for our final episode of our 50 Faces of Feeding South Dakota podcast. We've really enjoyed hosting conversations over this year in an effort to help educate about hunger, to help activate in the fight against hunger, and hopefully inspire you for the work that we're doing and ways that you can make a difference in your community. So today, we're going to wrap up our episodes, podcast, however we want to call it, with a conversation back with Lori Dykstra, our CEO. Thanks for being here today.
Thanks for having me again.
So here we are, the end of our 50th year.
It went fast.
It did go fast. I was thinking about that. We spent so much time planning how are we going to acknowledge this anniversary and what are we going to do across the state. Almost like every month there was something that we did to engage the 50th anniversary. And then it came and we're at the end already. It's just crazy.
I know there's been so much and so much change. I mean, what
Mhm.
even coming into this 50th year, what we thought we might be doing for
Mhm.
this 50th year looks a little different this year.
It does.
It's been kind of a crazy ride in food banking.
It has. And I would say that speaks to the reason we're still here 50 years later is because over the last 50 years we've been able to adapt. The way that hunger happens, the way that South Dakotans need support, the way that the food bank operates has had to evolve. And this is just like a case in point, right?
Yeah. We got so sick of the word pivot during COVID that we don't never want to use it again. But it kind of feels like we've had to do that again
Yeah.
this year. It's just been crazy. And I guess, what we're talking about is that the need continues to rise
Yep.
when the resources are challenging.
Mhm.
We've had a loss in federal food
Mhm.
dollars. And so the food through the USDA programs coming to Feeding South Dakota, we lost 1.5 million pounds of food this
Mhm.
year. We had to adapt to that. We had to adapt to the need rising in every single group, whether it's child hunger, senior hunger,
Yeah.
our families, our wellness pantries, they're all demanding more and just keeping up. And so the team here has been busy, and I hope that you all, I'm sure it's tiring. I'm tired some days. So
You're right. And that's been for me at least a really good thing about these conversations is just sitting next to somebody who can talk about what they're doing to support the work that we're doing and how meaningful it is to them. And that's inspiring and motivating for me because it really shows that we're not in this fight alone. That we have 3 distribution centers. We have a great team who is logistically doing the work, but we have thousands of volunteers who love what they do and the next generation of volunteers who wants to be a part of this. And we have donors who are giving large matching gifts to donors who are, sportsmen against hunger, who are finding unique ways. They're running marathons, they're doing roundups at the register, milk drives. There's just all these things that are happening in communities across the state to support the work. And that really no pun intended, but drives me forward, right?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Even though it's easy to say you can get tired, there's always one more person to feed.
Mhm.
There's always, we could all stay late every night just
Yeah.
going, gosh, if we just stayed another hour, we can do a little bit more. But I think what's really great is that we know we have this whole network and this whole community of people who are doing this work. And so you're right. We've been here for 50 years because of all of that support. And that's how we know we're going to be here for the next
Yeah.
50. And maybe we should talk a little bit about what we think
Well,
what the
yeah,
future looks
because we
like.
still wanna work toward our mission to end hunger, and I know it's a lofty goal, and it's a lot of work, and it doesn't, especially right now, feel like that's a reality, but it's work we wanna continue to do. So how do you envision that?
Well, I think at the beginning of the year, we talked about a little bit about the future and what the next 3 to 5 years might look like. We talked about community led solutions
Mhm.
over the year and what that looks like. And you've had some of our community partners on
Mhm.
throughout the
Yep,
year,
yep,
throughout the podcast to talk about what extra dollars in their community would
yeah,
mean, creating that equitable access. So, where you can get food access on any given day in Sioux
mhm.
Falls or Rapid City, what does that look like for our rural communities who maybe only have access to our truck once a month?
Well, not only that, but I learned so much, especially when I went into community and sat down about how different hunger looks every place, which just really drives home that communities know best about what is needed there.
And every situation, like every community has a unique solution because they have a unique community.
Mhm.
So we get out on reservation knowing that there's little to a lot less access to fresh produce,
Yeah.
and the grocery stores are further away. And so those are all challenges that they are battling with every day. But then now, on top of everything else this year, we've had cutbacks in social programs and things
Mhm.
that are affecting families, and farmers are
Right.
struggling. And so all of that's happening. But the solutions that we have for the next 3 to 5 years to grow capacity and to grow the amount of food we can get into our distribution center and get it out to the communities to do what they need in their community doesn't change.
It doesn't. And I think it's important to say because we haven't really talked much about federal programs or nutrition benefits or these things that you're mentioning that have evolved and changed. We haven't really truly dug in and addressed that here in the podcast. I know we speak about it in media. We have an advocate page on our website, but I, you know, it can be so controversial for people. I mean, there's the reality that people need food, but you know, the things like the USDA food and the SNAP benefits and the WIC benefits become very controversial. But for us, it's not political. It's not a
No.
political statement. It is just sharing a fact about a change in resources or a change in the landscape of hunger.
Yeah, we say it a lot internally, but I wish more people talked about it externally that food is nonpartisan. It's
Yeah.
not bipartisan, it's nonpartisan,
Yes.
right? I mean,
Yes.
food is just a right.
Hmm.
And we also talk a lot about that when one social program is cut, that people turn to the charitable food network. So if their SNAP benefits or Medicare or Medicaid is cut back, they may turn to Feeding South Dakota. And we need to be able to be here as a safety net. And in
Right.
order to do that, we need more food and more resources to do that.
So, talk a little bit more about a safety net. What does it mean to be a safety net, a food safety net in South Dakota?
That's what keeps me up at night is the weight on our shoulders, right? That we are that food safety net. But if not us, who?
Yeah.
So, I mean, we are the food insecurity experts in the state, and we've got the network. We are poised to be able to get into every community. Our distribution model, I'm very proud of the work that the operations team has done.
Hmm.
We can get food out very quickly in all
Hmm.
66 counties. We've shown it
Yeah.
during winter storms, during,
Yeah.
you know, fires in the Black Hills, during
Yeah.
all kinds of emergencies, but also just every day to make sure families have it. So we need to be in those communities. We need to have enough food. So those dollars are important to purchase
Hmm.
food. And we need to be able to distribute it out quickly. We've got the model built to distribute quickly. Now, what we need is to build infrastructure to bring in more food.
Yep.
So, adding on to, you know, capacity in those communities to be able to put food into those communities, because if they don't have shelves or freezers or
Right.
places to
Right.
put it, they're not going to be able to open their doors to their community.
Hmm.
And then making sure you have volunteers to support all of that. That takes some time and effort in communities, but they know their communities well. And, it only takes talking to the schools, the local organizations, the 4-H groups, the FFA, the churches. Oh my goodness, the churches have been so supportive of the work that we do. I mean, how many pantries do we have that it started
Right.
as a shelf in a church
Right.
somewhere
Right. Because
across?
that's really where they saw the need.
Yep.
And, as I think about that, we've done some changes within Feeding South Dakota internally to support that work. And I think primarily about our community partnership coordinators. Through the podcast, we talked with Brian Sternholm about food sourcing. We've talked to Jennifer Stensauce about volunteers. We've talked with Megan Chose about donating, but we really haven't dove into the work that our community partnership coordinators do. But it's essential to the future of the work of Feeding South Dakota.
Yeah, and it's the newest role. It's part of that 3 to 5 year model that we were
Mhm.
talking about, and increasing our accessibility to food and removing roadblocks, which means we need to build community solutions. And in order to do that, we need community focused people in those
Mhm.
communities. So within the last year, we've built out this team of just amazing people who are really doing outreach type work. They're
Yes.
going into their community, they're bringing people to the table who are partners of ours today or have just a vested interest in hunger in their city or their community, and just like-minded people, and sitting around the table and saying, what does your community need? Is senior hunger your biggest concern?
Mhm.
How can we help you support that? If you're not a current partner, let's talk about a partnership. Or if you're taking care of senior hunger, maybe Feeding South Dakota can step in and take care of child hunger. It's collaboration. It's not Feeding South Dakota is the only solution. We're part of the solution.
Mhm.
And hopefully the catalyst in that community to getting those solutions pushed forward that meet the need of that community.
And it's even, as I envision it, it's retail rescue right in that community, right? I mean, that is a huge source of food for many of our partners. Being able to go to the local retailer and take food that's near the best by date, but can get on the tables of people facing hunger because it's still consumable. Or the produce, maybe you have to peel a couple layers off of the lettuce, but it's still going to make a good salad. And that really is a key component for communities is having that short supply chain that can help people immediately.
Yeah, we've seen small town grocery stores we know that they've even been struggling a little bit, but having that donation and being able to write off some of those foods helps the grocery store as well. We want those grocery stores to stay open,
Mhm.
but then also being able to have a grocery store owner will tell you they never want to see food waste, right?
Mhm.
So to be able to take that food and get it into the community and get it, usable or eaten within the week, we know that that's not going to go into a landfill. That's really a good solution for the grocery store, for the community and the people who need it. But then also it cuts back on that like supply chain that you talked about. Rather than us picking it up, bringing it back here and then having to get it out, that doesn't give us very many days to be able to eat that food. So if we're able to just get it out in that community, but what else it's done is opened up the door to the community to say, I have an overage in tomatoes in my garden
Yes.
this
Right.
month. And I was just out on the west side of the state, and a really big crop of peppers and tomatoes and squash and all these fall items, these fall heirloom tomatoes. This local gardener who just obviously is a very good gardener because she brought in a lot of excess. And she said, I don't have a place to take this. I sometimes take it to the farmer's market, but we have more than we need, and we want to give it away. And so she brought it in and it just looked phenomenal. I mean, you feel
Mm.
like you're going to a farmer's market, and those are going to go right out into the community.
Mhm. So that, brings me so I'm gonna put you on the spot here now for a couple of things. Uh, so as we're wrapping up our 50th year and you think about people like the local farmer, or the volunteers or the people who are doing whatever they can to support this work, what's one piece of advice you would give to somebody who is, doing what they can to be part of the fight to end hunger?
There's nothing too small. Just start where you can, whether it's the bringing in the tomatoes and the peppers and things that you have within your reach, or if it's volunteering your time, or maybe you have excess dollars to give at the end of the year, giving it to Feeding South Dakota, we've always said, we can take
Stretch
that
that.
dollar and stretch it pretty far,
Yeah.
but also educating and advocating. Like you and I talk about
Yeah.
this, we've mentioned it a little bit on here today, but we don't normally talk about advocacy on this podcast necessarily, but we have an advocacy page, and a lot of it is just getting the word out. I think still so many people don't know about our programs or don't know what we're doing, or maybe even things we're pushing for at the state or federal level that can help the people who are the most vulnerable and food insecure in our state. I mean, ultimately, there's no small thing that you can
It
do.
makes me think about how the backpack program got started in Rapid City with a teacher who had snacks in her drawer. And then it just got bigger and bigger. And now it's a statewide program for Feeding South Dakota that is one of our most popular programs. And so I think that's just proof that every little bit helps. And even when you start in a little spot, it can turn into a really big impact.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's probably the number one thing I tell people is do what you can from the space that you're at. You don't, there's the woman on Pine Ridge who is just amazing, amazing advocate for the work that we do. And she sends in, she said, I have $10 and I send in my $10 to Feeding South Dakota. And if I have a few extra dollars that month, I'll send 12. And she's someone who probably doesn't have a lot of resources, yet she feels that's so important. And it's such a prideful thing for her to be able to know that she's helping her neighbors. And it feels, I always say, give until it feels good for you.
So how about a piece of advice for people who are volunteering to support this work?
Oh, I will say that until I volunteered here before I worked here, but until I worked here and got to do all the volunteer jobs, I don't think that I've ever worked anywhere where you can get that immediate satisfaction of doing, whether you're packing a backpack and knowing that's going to help some child. That, I mean, I'm a little biased, but I think it's a really fun place to volunteer. But I will say the biggest thing is we can't do it without you. We don't have enough employees. I think last year we were the equivalent of like close to 30 employees.
28 FTE,
Yeah,
I
I'm
think.
rounding
Yeah.
up
Yeah.
because I know
Yeah.
I know there's a lot of
I always
volunteer hours
say,
we
don't quote me.
Yeah. Well, and I know we don't even
Yeah.
record the volunteer hours of
Some of the mobile distributions.
or the woman running the pantry in the small town. I mean, there's way more than that even.
Right.
But we can't do this without volunteer hours.
So then that brings me around to the team, to the Feeding South Dakota team. What would your piece of advice be to them as we close out our 50th year and head into the future of fighting hunger?
Well, first, before the advice is just thank you. I mean, this team, I'm so incredibly proud to work with them. Oh, you're going to choke me up, Stacy. It's until you're here, whether you're volunteering or working and just seeing how hard everybody works. It's sorry. Got me all choked up now at the end of the podcast.
I've said it before, but there is no doubt if you have not met a team member, when you do, or any team member that you meet, the passion that every member of this team has for the work to fight hunger, whether they've been here for over 10 years or, they've been here for 2 to 3 or they're new, that passion, even though there are hard days, that passion, I think about our team who white knuckled it during winter storms and probably shouldn't have gone out, but the passion for the work drove them. And I think about the ops team who has to make decisions as we're in these winter weather days about, even just high winds that can impact driving a truck and keeping their team safe, but also knowing people need food. And I mean, everybody plays their part, from the finance team to the development team to the team that's answering phones and greeting people, supporting volunteers, and they do it all with passion. And that's just so amazing.
I think that was evident the minute I came in, is seeing how passionate everybody else was. It was easy for me on the days when it's really hard and, we're not sure how we're going to, get the dollars and the food in to feed as many people as we have in our food lines right now. Then, walking through the door and seeing someone's face smiling at you, just how's your day? How's your morning? Just happy to greet the people who are looking for food. The volunteers are coming to support the work. It just there's not a single person who does this work who isn't passionate and gives all of themselves to this
Mhm.
work. And so I'm just so grateful. And then my advice would be that to remember how resilient we are.
That's a
We've
good one.
been here for 50 years because we're resilient. And so during these hard times, because like we said at the beginning of this podcast, it's been a tough year.
Yeah.
It's been a tough year for food bankers. So our truck drivers, our ops teams, our finance, everyone,
Food
it's
sourcing.
every single
Yes.
team we can say they're working harder than ever right
Mhm.
now. And we're great stewards of the dollars here, which is amazing. But some days they probably feel like they could do more. They can do, they,
Or can we do
yeah,
more?
can we do
Is this
more?
possible?
Yeah. And I just want them to know that they're doing everything that they can do. I'm so proud of them, but also just to realize that we're resilient. We're going to get through these times. And then we are going to make a dent in food insecurity. Will there ever be a time in our lifetime where, we're always shooting for ending hunger, but, will there always be hunger? Probably at some
Mhm.
level. But I really feel positively that in 5 years from now, this landscape's going to look different because of the programs and the work that everyone's doing here at Feeding South Dakota and our community partners.
And that's what drives us forward. And when I say us, I mean the organization, the team, the volunteers, the donors, the supporters,
Yeah.
the partners out there with the food pantries and the hot meal sites and the shelters. We're driving toward that, that 3 to 5 year plan is the short vision, but we know that collectively it takes everybody together moving forward in order to really make this mission move.
Yeah, we're all one movement together, and
Mhm.
you just see it. I mean, South Dakotans care about it. They care about their neighbors. They want to help, and
Yes. We're
I
we're so lucky to be
yeah,
in the Midwest and in a culture of, neighbors taking care of neighbors. We're really fortunate, I feel like, because with what, over 113,000 people in the state that are considered food insecure and many more facing hunger with just, you know, one, who knows, change in expenses, right?
mhm.
Um, and so, knowing it could be anybody. And I feel like I just have said this so many times on the podcast and it's a broken record, but it's so true because we see it and we've seen it a lot this year where people are saying, I've never done this before. I've never needed this before. I'm glad you're here. I'm glad you can help. Right. And so, but it's not us. Yes, we're doing the logistical operational work, but it's really the neighbors who want to make sure their neighbor doesn't go hungry.
We can't do this without the support of
Hmm.
our network, and that's the safety net that you talked about earlier. So that us being here when they need us, that's the safety net.
Hmm.
And the only way we can be here when they need us is with all of that support through our donors and our volunteers and our partners and all of the staff here, our board members, everyone. So, what a great way to wrap up our
Yeah.
50th year. And I think we need to bring this out in like 5 years as like a capsule
Oof.
and listen and see where we end up so we can look back
Maybe.
and
And say, "We made it," or
we
"We exceeded that." So, what about your as a final piece of advice here that I'll put you on the spot for, what about people who maybe have stumbled on our organization or this podcast, or they're learning about what we do and the work that we do for the first time? They're maybe not actively involved or active supporters at the moment. What would your advice for them be?
Well, my advice would be to reach out and talk to somebody who works here, whether it's our development team, and see where you can come and learn more, whether you're going to
Mhm.
come volunteer. I mean, if you go out on a mobile distribution and you see this work
Right.
firsthand, it's very inspiring. But maybe just talk to us and see if there's a good connection or a fit for you. I always feel like this is the type of work that you're called to do for some reason, whether it's you may know somebody who's been food insecure or just I want to help in a way. And this is a very simple way to help. Be able to come and volunteer, check it out, donate dollars. And if you want to donate your dollars, I mean, I am biased that but we're pretty good stewards of the dollar with 93 cents of every dollar going to
To the
programs. That's
programs.
pretty
Right,
impressive.
right.
And so we're a good place to invest your dollars,
Mhm,
but also you get to see real time that impact that food is going out the door
mhm,
every day here. And
mhm.
so I just say, give us a call, find out what we're doing, check us out on the website. You can volunteer on the website, but you can also see what we're doing on that advocacy page and say, wherever your expertise is or your interest is, you'll find a way to lean in.
That's good advice. That's really good advice. So, final thoughts as we wrap up 50 years.
Mm. It's just amazing. Like I said, I feel like we just kicked off in January, so
Mhm.
I can't believe we're at the end of the year already, and we're at holiday season, and really just I'm impressed. I've been here for over 4 years now, and every year I've been impressed by this team and our volunteers and our supporters. But this year has exceeded any expectation I could have had at the beginning of the year. I didn't think we would be in the situation that we're in right now, with more people needing our services. But I've also never felt stronger that
Mm.
we have the right people and the right
Mhm.
donors, volunteers, community supporters to do the work. I feel confident.
So 2025 is our 50th year. Our acknowledgement of starting as a small food pantry in Sioux Falls and a food bank in Rapid City that was grown into a statewide organization. Um, it 2025 exhibited the strength of the organization. All the work that's been done to build us to this point is helping us get through challenging times this year. And it's also a year for dreaming and visioning and continuing that forward momentum to make sure that we can be doing this work for the next 50 years.
Absolutely. And I really believe that this is going to be around for the long haul. The next 50 years is going to look different, but it's definitely going to be moving forward, progressive.
I think that we should pull this out in 50 years from the vault. And
Okay.
then the people who watch it, because I won't be here, they can laugh at, all the things that we say and the clothes that we wore.
Yes, the next generations who
Yes.
take on Feeding South Dakota and run it for us, they'll pull us out of the vault and laugh at our hairdos and our
And have an appreciation for where we were in 2025.
Yep.
Well, thank you for joining us. Thank you so much for tuning into our podcast. This is going to live on in perpetuity on YouTube. So you can go back and pull this up, go back and explore prior episodes. If you're tuning in for the first time or have only caught the last few, we've had great discussion all year from a variety of individuals who also have passion for this work, who share their stories about hunger themselves or in their communities, who will motivate you to make a change, and who really will help you understand how deep the work really is to fight hunger in South Dakota and why it takes everybody working together to bring an end to hunger.